So my name is Gatete Nyiringabo. I'm a Rwandan lawyer. I'm a researcher in social politics, and I am a writer in the same field. And I'm based here in Kigali. That's all.
Great, thank you very much, sir. So you were saying governance needs to fit the place that it's in. What do you think is motivating the Rwandan government to have a voice in what's happening in the DRC? What are the government's motivations here?
It's the fact that the DRC government works with FDLR. Who is FDLR? FDLR is, it has many people now, but it was started by people who committed the genocide in Rwanda, were defeated by the RPF, fled to Eastern DRC, first worked with Mobutu. Rwanda went in to defeat them, leading to removing Mobutu in Kinshasa. Rwanda withdrew. M23 remained. You cannot finish them, and the idea, I don't think, is to kill them all. The idea is to demobilize them. Demobilize them, that means turn them into farmers and bankers and I don't know, whatever they want to be. Return them to Rwanda. If they want to stay there, they stay there, but without having military activity. But the problem with that is that once Rwanda withdrew, the successive other governments worked with them again. The problem with that is twofold. One, there's about 10 million Kinyarwanda speaking community in the entire Congo, Eastern Congo. And 1 million of them that identify as Tutsi, or are identified as Tutsi, fled. Because these people who committed the genocide in Rwanda still want to commit the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Since they can't do that, they're doing that to Tutsi Congolese who fled. They've been in refugee camps for 30 years. Every government promised to solve, in Congo promises when they come to power, they promise to solve their problem, but they never do. And in their state, in their home state, where they used to live, now live FDLR. And so when they can't get the solution to return them home peacefully, they take up arms. They have done it several times. But it always ends with, okay, we're going to have peace talks. Now wait, lay down your weapons, we're going to fix your problem. They never do. And so that's the problem number one. Problem number two, FDLR represent a national threat to the Rwandan government. The Congolese president has said repeatedly in public that he intends to forcefully remove the government in Rwanda. And we thought it was words until M23 seized Goma and showcased the type of weapons and trenches dug along the border with Rwanda, and trenches and weapons faced towards Rwanda. M23 was not coming toward Rwanda. It never came toward Rwanda. It came from Uganda. But at least it was in this case, it was coming from Uchuru and so on. It was coming from the north. But cannons were not faced at them. They were faced towards Rwanda. And they did throw some projectiles, some bombs on the Rwandan government. Rwanda had protection mechanisms on its border. So M23 is an ideology. People say they are old, but yes, they are old, it's true, but they are as old as the RPF, which is in power in Rwanda. Is it old? Young people younger than me are members of the RPF. So if there is so hate speech and genocide ideology can revive FDLR. FDLR can die forever, just like it died in Rwanda. People who committed the genocide in Rwanda are still in Rwanda today, most of them, except the few that are in FDLR. But they do not pursue that activity because there's new policies here of unity, of reconciliation, and so on. And it's also repressed. If you do it, you could go to jail and so on. But in Congo, like right now, FDLR has been defeated in the Kivus by M23. They have gone deeper into Congo. If nothing is done, they can come back, remobilize, re-energize, rearm, and so on. So we are going to, I think it's in Rwanda's best interest that there's no threat of genocide off its shores, off its borders. And that, I think, would be Kagame's motivation, as you asked.
And what about the accusations that it is interested in influencing a neighboring country, that it's going after mining resources? What do you make of that, that this is economic, that this is military?
Because, when you don't want to solve a problem, you create a new problem, and then that's what you discuss. we have mines in Rwanda that we can't exploit. We don't even have the capacity to exploit the mines that we already have in Rwanda. Recently, journalists, even from Jazeera, were talking to Rwandan mines and to see. And one of the things which is true is recently one of the angers that the European countries have is because Rwanda is on a spree of building refineries. We have a gold refinery, we are building a tin refinery, we're building these refineries. Refineries gives you much, much more money than mining itself. I have a feeling that soon Rwanda will even stop mining and just focus on refining. And when they refine, the gold and the tin and the lithium that was being refined in South Africa, in Belgium, and in Dubai is going to be refined here. And you can imagine how they feel about it. And we were in good terms with Tshisekedi until the day we signed the contract that we're going to be refining his gold. That's where things stand. I think his sponsors and so on told him this is not acceptable. But I think that's one of the main reasons, number one. And number two, the international community doesn't see Congo as a country of human beings. They see it as a reservoir of minerals. Whenever M23 takes a place, they don't say, it's secured the Bashi, it's secured the Bandandi, it's secured the Banyarwanda, it's secured so on. So no, they say, oh, that's tin, that's lithium, that's gold. It's as though the place is empty and there's only gold and lithium littered across the country. It's a country of 100 million people. Some of them speaking Kinyarwanda, have interests, have livelihoods to pursue and so on. So nobody ever talks about them. You will never see a report that talks about the almost 1 million Congolese Tutsi that have been in refugee camp for 30 years. Nobody speaks about them. But they're human beings. They have aspirations and goals and so on. They live in refugee camps for 30 years. Everybody speaks, oh, M23 is going towards mine. And also remember, M23 are Congolese. These areas they are going to, they belong to them. That's why they defeat the Congolese armies, because it's their homestead. They know how to fight there because it's where they grew up. If they capture a mine in their own country, in their own space, it's nobody. They have more stake, more say on the mines on and thereof of that region than Kinshasa does. Tshisekedi can go dig mines in Kasai, where he comes from. I doubt there is mines there. The mines in Kivu and the land in Kivu and everything in Kivu belongs to M23 people, because that's where they come from. Doesn't belong to FDLR, doesn't belong to MONUSCO UN, doesn't belong to the Chinese and the Canadian. Like, for example, M23 just shut down a Canadian mine in Walikale. Canadians don't have a say on that mine more than M23 does. It's absurd, right? I didn't see any Rwandans. I don't claim a mine in Nova Scotia or Abbottabad or what do you call it, or Vancouver. I didn't see any Rwandan company digging mines in Vancouver. Why should a Canadian company dig mines in Walikale and complain when M23 shuts it down? Isn't it absurd?
It's a colonial mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you think that, you know, coming back to Rwanda's policy and thinking and involvement, considering Rwanda and the region's colonial past, and more recently the genocide in the 90s, how do you think that's fueling how people feel about what's happening in DRC, how the government feels, how Rwandan feels?
So the Belgians, Congo used to be the private property of King Leopold, as you know, as everybody knows. And then at independence, Mobutu gave it to the French to be in charge, just like the French are in charge of most of Western countries that are now also freeing themselves from the French, right? And so when the French speak, the Belgians can't speak. There's a tiny country next to France. And then when Mobutu was ousted, Kabila gave it to the Chinese. So Europeans felt bitter about it until they forced Kabila to come out of power. Now they introduced a Belgian citizen. Tshisekedi is a Belgian citizen. Taxi driver, notwithstanding, but he's a Belgian citizen, him and most of his cabinet, and his children and wife and so on. Tshisekedi was getting ready to give it back to the Belgians. And the Belgians, they have a saying in Belgium, in Brussels, when you speak to them, to say, ça ne rendra pas le Congo. So when you say, let's do something, you say, yeah, but it's not going to give us back our Congo. They believe they lost the Congo. And now they were about to recover it. And they believe that Paul Kagame is standing in their way of recovering their Congo, which they had lost. Because without it, one of the biggest exporters of minerals from this region is a Belgian company. I think it's going to be also shut down. Even the mines in Rwanda, it's a Belgian company, which I think it's also going to be shut down. But you see, that's how they feel about the Congo. They feel it's their property, and they shall have a say. And people from there do not exist, do not have aspirations and ambitions. And I think they are mistaken. And this is why you see the European Union is completely walked out and taking sanctions against Rwanda.
Yeah, so it's all about, it's
interest.
Colonial story, it's about resource management.
Because if you speak to, you can go around the world, and I was born in exile, right? So I was born in exile, my parents were born in exile, my grandparents fled this country, 1959. You can go, we spent 30 years in exile. I came here when I was 11, my parents were born there, I told you. You can go around the world speaking about your rights. Nobody cares. You have to speak to them about the minerals. Or if you help me, Tshisekedi did it. He wrote a letter to Donald Trump and said, come, I'll give you all my minerals if you get rid of the Tutsi.
Yeah.
You know, that's the language that they hear. So M23 have only themselves to blame if they go back to exile. And they tried all this that you're hearing now, they tried to seek for peaceful avenues. They went to Kinshasa and spent more than a year. In a hotel room paid by the government of the Congo. They got tired. They went back to their forest, Sabinyo forest. It's a forest at the border between Rwanda, Uganda, and Congo. Spent another 10 years there, advocating, speaking to Museveni, speaking to Paul Kagame, speaking to the Americans, to the UN, to X, Y, and Z. You know, MONUSCO went to Congo. Rwanda, when MONUSCO, it was called MONUC. When it went to Congo the first time, Rwanda was a non-permanent member of the Security Council. Rwanda voted for it to go to Congo. Rwanda was in favor, excited about its going to Congo. Because its mandate was to demobilize FDLR, among other things. But the main threat was FDLR. Since MONUSCO got there, not only did it not disarm FDLR, it started working with FDLR to target the population, the Tutsi Congolese. And also, since its creation, there were maybe one major group called FDLR, one major group called RCD, which is the ancestor of M23, and maybe another group in the north, in Ituri. Since MONUSCO's presence, they have 200 groups. They seem to mushroom out of the ground since MONUSCO's presence. Why is that? It's because now MONUSCO's job there is to protect all these people who come to smuggle minerals out of the Congo, working with FDLR. FDLR main activity in Congo is to dig artisanal mining for multinationals. You know, multinationals that are in bed, that are in partnership with Kinshasa politicians. Kinshasa, if you go to Kinshasa, I have been, when we were in good terms, you go to a hotel called Pullman, or they have two hotels, Pullman and Hotel du Fleuve, something like that. You find all sorts of guys with, they pull out of their pocket deeds. They tell you, carré minier it's called, mining concessions. Fake, real, we don't know, you'll never know. They have never been to this mine. They can't pronounce. I can pronounce the name of that mine because it's named after my ancestor. Or it's my name. You can find the mine is called Rumangabo, Kirorirwe, Gichanga, Nyabyondo. These are Kinyarwanda names. But you'll find a guy in Kinshasa who speaks only Lingala, who's pulling out of his pocket a deed and saying, I want to sell. I went with Ukrainian investors, also interested in mines. Yeah, we met several guys with papers, mines. Can we go together? You show me this mine. No. Here's the mine. Go find out. Yeah. Because they haven't been there. Will never be. It's being traded in Kinshasa like small bread. Wow. Some of it is fake, of course. Maybe 90% is fake. Some of it is real. So Kinshasa is a place where people sit with the map of the Congo and trade mines. They don't care about who lives there. Look at the places that M23 is capturing. Are you seeing the images? Desolate places, there's no school, there's no house, there's no road, there's nothing. Oh, M23 took the biggest capital of Coltan. Capital of Coltan. In my student days, I studied human rights, university. I went to visit the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta is a place that when you go there, you can cry because you cannot even grow potatoes in this place. BP Petroleum, Shell Petroleum, ExxonMobil, all these people have been taking oil from the shores of that delta and throw the waste in the open. People there, that's why you have the likes of these rebel movements in Nigeria. You cannot grow anything there. When you see the coltan capital or the mineral city of, every time M23 gets a new place, the headline is they went to gold. What? Gold? Where is the gold? People can't eat food. There's no house. People are living in mud huts. That shows you what the policy of Kinshasa is. And you'll see people in Kinshasa, Rwanda is coming for resources. Why is the gold capital of Walikale empty? Why are people in Walikale naked? Why are they living in mud huts and grass chaff houses? Yet you call it gold capital. Rubaya is apparently tin coltan capital. If you go to Rubaya, you'll be sad. There's no, it's a God-forsaken village where nothing happened. The people don't have running water and electricity and so on. It is the tin, allegedly, tin whatever. So these policies, people see, the world sees Congo as a big reservoir of their resources where they have to scrounge and take, leaving the people to die of all sorts of diseases, Ebola, pandemics like cholera, malaria, and so on. When Congo said that 10 million people died in these conflicts, it is true, but it's not that nobody killed them. And in fact, Uppsala University in Sweden did a study in the Congo. They went to a place where there was never war and a place where there was war. The death toll is similar. What is it? Government neglect, cholera, pandemics, waterborne diseases, malaria, Ebola, a medieval disease that nobody has heard of is in Congo because people are left to themselves. They see planes landing in the area, they see planes being loaded, they see planes take off to destinations unknown. Once in a while, a politician comes from Kinshasa with sacks of rice and beans, distributes because he wants votes, and off he goes back to Kinshasa to sit in parliament where he gets paid $25,000 and more and more and more, leaving those people to suffer. Kinshasa doesn't have a say, man. I don't think they will ever, after this iteration, I don't think they will ever have a say in the Kivu again. I don't think so.
So is it fair to say that what M23 is a product of neglect?
M23, not only M23, all the militias in Congo, you have maybe 200 of them. All of them are a product of one thing. Neglect and suffering and oppression. Kinshasa takes the Congo, in French they call it brader. They sell it. They have sold the country so that they can wear Rolex watches and fancy shoes. They like to be Western. They bleach their skin. They wear the latest suits, brands, and so on. They sell their own people and country so they can. There's nothing that happens in Kinshasa. What happens in Kinshasa is to trade minerals from Eastern Congo. And this is going to stop. I think it's going to stop. Permanently, I'm telling you.
Now, just in simple terms for the international audience now, just to go back to Rwanda's role. Why is it, why does Rwanda have a stake in what's happening in the DRC?
Because it's our border. So, see, Rwanda and Congo will live together forever. That's the problem. You don't choose your neighbors. It's like you having a neighbor who plays music at 2 a.m., very loud music at 2 a.m., you can't sleep. It's a Chinese saying that says, we shall not allow our neighbors to snore next to our beds. If Rwanda must have a stake in what's happening at its border, because if it doesn't, what happens? It's not something that is hypothetical. It's a fact. We have had FDLR crossing the border into Rwanda, killing people in Kinigi. Kinigi is a very important place for us because that's where all the five-star hotels are based, because people who go to see gorillas, it's a luxury, it's an expensive luxury. They have these fancy 5, 6, 7-star lodges where when you have billionaires flying in, going to see mountain gorillas. Even mountain gorillas know where there is peace. Did you know that mountain gorillas from Congo also cross to the Rwandan side? Because they don't get hunted and killed. As a result, guides, tour guides, who live with the mountain gorillas from Congo, come to Rwanda, because you have families. Gorillas move in families, and they have one person to take care of them. So when the family crosses to Rwanda, even a Ugandan family crosses to Rwanda, the guides follow them. So you have on the Rwandan payroll, Congolese tour guides and Ugandan tour guides. Because gorillas cross here. There's more healthcare, there's safety. They're like the rest of us. They're not stupid. And every year, Rwanda Development Board has an amount of money of people who visited the families of gorillas that belong to Congo and Uganda that they give to the Congolese government and to the Ugandan government. This is never reported. Even mountain gorillas know where there is peace. So it is, if they were smart, they would also mount a rebellion to ensure that there's no one who crosses to them to attack them. So the Rwandan border, people are saying that we should reduce our security measures. We've always had security measures with Congo since 1994. Sometimes they are lower, sometimes they're higher, depending on how the situation is across the border. But we cannot sleep. Congo has been snoring next to our bed for the last 30 years. So that's why we need to have a stake. It would be stupid, we have a tiny country like this. It would be stupid to wait for people to cross to Kigali so we can fight in Kigali. Wouldn't it? Security, you protect your security from miles away. You keep it at bay, right? At an arm's length. We cannot wait for FDLR, for Congolese army, for everybody, for the South African SADC, for everybody to come so we can fight in Rebero here where I live. We have to make sure they don't get here, don't we? I mean, everybody should. In history, every country bordering Congo has had a problem coming from Congo. Congo is a paradise for rebel movements. UNITA of Savimbi, that was attacking Angola, was based in Congo. Lord Resistance Army, that was attacking Uganda, was based in Congo. Central African Republic militias, anti-Balaka and so on, were based in Congo, some of them, and other militias. Angola has had problems with Congo. Uganda has had problems with Congo. Burundi has problems in Congo. Now they have a rebel movement called Red Tabara that is in Congo. Even the movement in power today called CNDD-FDD, it's organized in Congo. Obviously, Uganda has had problems with Congo because Congo does not have government and the state. Everyone operates. Uganda today has a movement called ADF that is fighting, crossing the border to attack their Ugandans. They're based in Congo. The only difference with all these movements is that the Congolese government did not, well, except maybe for Savimbi, did not actively work with these movements. The Congolese government actively works with FDLR. They think that FDLR is a threat to us, so if they want to bend us on their will, they have to work with FDLR.
Restored or
I think it will not be restored for now because, let me tell you something. You know, the French, after the Second World War, the French were a defeated nation, right? But they went to the UN when the UN was being funded. They said we are an African power because they presented on the table their African colonies. That's how they got the seat in that and the fact that also Churchill wanted something between him and the Germans. But that's mainly why they got their seat in the UN Security Council. But Belgium seems to do that. It goes to Europeans and say, we speak on behalf of Rwanda. But we got independence in 61, 62.
Yeah, well, this is the same thing that the British did with the United States. They left and lost the war.
Yes.
But as they were happy to pull out of the war and give America independence as long as it maintained economic control.
Yes.
Which it continues to do.
So the Belgians, we want to make sure, and we will, that whenever they speak about Rwanda, nobody takes them seriously. We want to make sure they have no say about affairs that happen in Rwanda. Because the last time whenever we have good relations, they take that and use it as some sort of leverage. For example, I know some people in Rwanda who are saying, oh, but Belgians give Schengen visas, so we can't upset them.
Yeah.
You know, you have all the Rwandans here. When they want to go to Europe, they have to go to the Belgian embassy. That's also done.
Yeah.
it's going to be taken by Norway or Sweden or Holland.
Yeah.
Because we don't want them to have a stake here. Independence happened. It already happened. There's not going to be Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Belgium again. They will possibly have an influence in Kinshasa. But Kinshasa will be so far away. They will not have an influence in Eastern Congo because, you know, most of the children of genocide perpetrators live in Belgium. They have NGOs in Belgium that are funded by the Belgian state, whose job is genocide denial. NGOs of children of genocide, parents sentenced to life in prison, 25 years in prison, 30 years in prison. Their children live in Belgium, they have Belgian citizenship, they speak too much French, and their job, funded by the Belgian government, is to genocide denial. There's the United Nations Conventions against genocide denial that Belgium does not implement. That's one. There's a University of Antwerp, the other day, 2021, we were here, 3 researchers came from the University of Antwerp. They said they're here to conduct a study on gender equality. Beautiful topic. Rwanda is known as a champion of gender equality and so on. They come here. Do you know what their report was? They did ethnic profiling of every leader in this country, from local leaders to central leaders. Hutu, Tutsi, Hutu. It's shocking. 4 years ago, universities funded by the Belgian government to continue their policy of the 50s, to speak, and the conclusion, there are more Tutsi are disproportionately represented in the government given their size than Hutu. That's their findings. Today, they do that today. You understand? So Belgium is toxic. It has not changed. During the genocide on the 10th of April 1994, genocide started on the 7th. On the 10th, there were many Tutsis in a school here in Kichukiro called Eto Kichukiro. Eto is a technical school. There were many Tutsi families, old women, children, people hiding there under the protection of Belgian blue helmets. On the 10th, the Belgians left, abandoned. Genocide perpetrators were lurking in the neighborhood. They were there. Belgians were in between this genocide, the victims, the Tutsi, and the genocide perpetrators, between genocide perpetrators and the Tutsi people. They left, they abandoned them. They took cats and dogs and themselves, and they left. They left these people to be killed. These people were killed atrociously because they were taken from there. Every 10th of April, we do a march from Eto, the school, to the Nyanza Genocide Memorial. They were marched from the school. It's not far, it's maybe a kilometer, being killed on the way until the rest of them were killed at the place where we have now a genocide memorial called Nyanza, not far from here. This is what Belgium did. And then upon the end of the genocide, the Prime Minister of Belgium came here, apologized publicly. Fine. Next thing we know, all the genocides of perpetrators' children, because parents said there was no genocide when they fled, because the French came and created a buffer between the advances of the RPF and the retreating genocide perpetrators. It was called Operation Turquoise. And during this buffer, the politicians, Hutu politicians and Abiyarimana politicians were airlifted to Europe, resettled in Europe. The populace and the soldiers were abandoned in Congo. That's where FDLR is today. And those people, when they reached Europe, they said, there was no genocide.
Standard, yeah.
But people said, no, there was a genocide. You can't, the UN recognizes it. The International Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, recognizes it. You can't. So it's not credible, your story. Now their children have a new technique. There was a genocide. Every sentence they say genocide against the Tutsi. But there was also genocide against the Hutu. So that's their approach now, because they can't say genocide didn't happen like their parents did. Yeah. Now they say, there was genocide against the Tutsi, yes, but the genocide against the Tutsi. But the genocide was actually provoked by the Tutsi themselves because they killed Abiyarimana. Nobody has ever proven that the opposite is true. So it was created by the Tutsi. There was genocide of the Tutsi, but, there's a but. That's what this NGO does. Yeah. And these NGOs are funded by the Belgians, the Belgian government. So we know all these things. We denounce all these things. And the Congo has taken the mantle of genocide denial, and people are burnt in broad daylight and killed. And in Kinshasa, It's a political tool to say all the Tutsis are not Congolese, they should go home. There are about more than 40 million Kinyarwanda-speaking people in this region. 10 million in Congo, more in Uganda, more in Tanzania, and a small group in Burundi. There's only 14 million in Rwanda.
Tutsi.
Rwandans.
Rwandan speaking.
Yeah. They are Rwandans origin even, because this part used to be the Rwandan kingdom. When you say Rwandan government is supporting M23, Rwandan government doesn't need to support M23. Rwandans support M23 because they espouse the cause of M23. And these Rwandans are 40 million over. So I don't know why people keep attacking them. Because if you attack them, I have cousins in M23. Direct cousins. Me and people in Uganda and people in Tanzania and people in Burundi have cousins in M23. That's who's supporting M23. That's who will continue to support M23. Because these are our relatives. The point that Kinshasa doesn't get is that. And so if my cousin calls me and says he needs more shoes because the boots he was wearing are worn out, you think I'm not going to send him boots? If he calls his cousin in Uganda, in Kabare or these areas, and say he needs food.
It sounds like the borders drawn by the colonial powers
are pointless.
Does not reflect the reality on the ground of how people are connected.
Correct. And now the thing is, so borders are drawn, they don't reflect reality, but that's fine, because the Rwandans in Uganda, we are in good terms with Uganda because they are not oppressed on a daily basis. The Rwandans in Tanzania are not oppressed. They are Tanzanian citizens. They're struggling to get citizenship in Uganda to this day, which maybe will be addressed in the future. But in Tanzania, they are citizens. In Burundi, they are citizens. In Congo, sometimes they are citizens and then they remove their citizenship and then they are given it back and removed. They're oppressed since independence. So when you do not capture that, you have problems.
Yeah, it feels like the maps that were drawn by the European powers don't correlate with the ethnic and cultural makeup on the ground. And that's what's bubbling to the surface.
Yes, but you see, Africa is possibly the only continent where you have borders that are rectilinear, that are like this, that sharp edges. That's not how human beings live. Yeah. Is it? That's not how human beings live. So they do not reflect reality, but reality, it doesn't mean that reality does not exist. Ugandan president told Tshisekedi last month in a conference, SADC, he told him, Tshisekedi, what is the meaning of Ibirunga? I don't think you know. He said, in Uganda we have Ibirunga, in Congo we have Ibirunga, in Rwanda they have Ibirunga. In our joint mother tongue, it means volcanoes. I don't know what it means in your mother tongue. Also, I doubt there is such word in your mother tongue because you don't have volcanoes. This word is in Kinyarwanda because it was named by the owners of the volcanoes. It is not you. It is the M23 who's the owner of those volcanoes. So you have to negotiate with them because that's their land you are talking about. Museveni told him openly in front of all heads of states. And the debate was closed. He said, you don't know the meaning of Ibirunga. Let me tell you, Ibirunga means volcanoes. That's how Rwandans call it. That's how we Ugandans call it. And that's how the people from the Eastern DRC call it. You have no idea. Every place that M23 is capturing, there's no one in Kinshasa who can pronounce the name. It's just like pronouncing my names. But the people of M23 pronounce the names quite all right. Because they're the ones, their ancestors named them that place.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Exhaustive history lesson. That was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
We have everything? Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Really, really
so you come here often?
No, this is my first time.
To Rwanda?